Oh my God, you guys come in, sit down, and shut the door. Fat Joe has just been accused of Diddy like crimes. And baby, this one is a doozy. What is going on? Remember, we said that Diddy was going to set the level, and if the prosecution can put him away, there's going to be so many other people to fall, baby. Next up on the roster is Fat Joe Terror Squad. Y'all, let me run this down really quick for you because this breakdown is ridiculous. Okay, listen, here's everything that's in play. I had to take notes. There's so much. Let me run it down. Then we're going to go on live and read the lawsuit. The main law is RICO. They are trying to get him on a RICO Act, TVPA, Tracking Victims Protection Act, federal wire and mail fraud, and unjust enrichment fraud. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, baby. Let's get into this. All right, so the plaintiff is Terrence Dixon. Again, we're going to go in deeper, but got to talk about this. The plef is Terrence Dixon. He served as Fat Joe's
and no
hype
longer
man,
has a
writer,
voice who will
vocalist,
pursue
tour
justice
manager, and
for her
bodyguard
accusation.
From 2005 to 2022.
As of the Aiken against
he
Diddy,
claims he was never
no
properly
expansion of the
credited or paid
investigation,
despite contributing
no
to
isolation
multiple
orders,
hits and
no
international
equipment
tours.
access,
And when I said
no
that,
suspension
I said,
of attorney
okay,
communication.
So this sounds like standard fodder. And I have been hearing whispers about what was going on in Terror Squad, but get this, he also alleges psychological abuse, financial theft, SMEWL coercion, and violent intimidation. Who are the defendants? All right, they're saying Fat Joe, Joseph Cardina is the RIN leader pistol. Pete Torres is the muscle and enforcer. Richard Richard Jose is a business manager and internal enforcer. And there's Erica Moriera is a fake lawyer who set up a shell, shut up the shell companies for laundering money. Oh my God. And get this, and Sneaker Addict, Touring LLC, and Slate Incorporated, the corporate front for fraud. They also got Rock Nation in here, but they're saying Rock Nation just benefited from the touring and whatnot. The main RICO is Fat Joe. Okay, so here's the allegations. I'm paid labor and song Fat. So Terrence claims that he co-wrote and performed 20 or more songs, We All the Way Up. Congratulations, ice cream, etc. He was allegedly promised 15% of all earnings and credit, but he received nothing. Instead, he got ghost contracts and a forged split sheets were submitted to BMI ASCAP. Cutting them out, I think that's the record. People hold on. Y'all, I know we're starting slow, but it's about to get crazy. Money laundering and tax fraud. Fat Joe allegedly collected hundreds and thousands in cash and didn't report it. He used fake W-2s to inflate Terran's income on IRS records to hide wage theft. The sneaker store UPNYC operated as a front with employees flaunting luxury despite low official salaries, and defendants filed for fraudulent PPP loans using Sneaker Addict, touring. There's also tour exploitation and financial control. They said he was booked for over 200 shows but only paid $254 per show, while the contract showed that they paid him $3,000. His per diem of $100 a day was routinely stolen. He slept in lobbies while others flew first class, and Fat Joe allegedly took $30K Live Nation check meant for Terrence and used it to pay his own taxes. But y'all, let's get into this. The SMEWL coercion and control base. This is a detailed unpacking. Now, there is a section of the lawsuit that alleges that Fat Joe used SMMX as a method of psychological domination, humiliation, and subjugation. These weren't isolated incidents, he's claiming, and they were rooted in consensual groupie culture. This was an alleged systematic pattern of sexual coercion used to break and control Terrence. Here's how it unfolded. Okay, now this is alleged based on his complaint, but let's get into this. Okay, he said he wasn't just performing music. He was allegedly forced to perform smeckily, not for his own gratification, but to maintain a test to income, travel, shelter, and safety. Fat Joe allegedly made it clear that compliance equals survival. You refuse and your flight home gets canceled. You refuse and you sleep in the lobby. You refuse and you lose your spot. Okay, so there was performance-based humiliation in one specific incident in Miami. After a show, Fat Joe allegedly brought a woman to his hotel suite. He ordered Terrence to sleep with her in front of a group with the bathroom door open, shouting, "Get your D hard, Terrence, or they're calling him to." Members of the crew, including Pistol Pete and JB, reportedly watched and laughed when joked, "Yo, Joe, I'm not about to stand here and watch this ninja's D." Terrence allegedly did not want to participate, but he felt he had no choice. Also there was surveillance and direction. These performances were sometimes filmed, sometimes directed. The environment was described as under surveillance. There were security cameras, management staff, They even said Roc Nation's extended team were allegedly aware. Joe was said to have orchestrated who TA would sleep with, watched, and sometimes gave verbal instructions. Is this not sounding like Diddy and Cassie and used the presence of others to enforce psychological shame? Now, he did say there was retaliation for refusal on at least one occasion. Terrence refused to comply with the coerced act in response. Fat Joe canceled his flight, left him
and no
stranded
longer has a
overseas,
voice
and
who
cut
will
off
pursue
access to
justice
money
for her
or
accusation.
shelter, making him fully
As of the
dependent on
taken
Joe's
against Diddy,
approval to survive,
no
and there was
expansion of the
also creepy
investigation,
language of ownership.
no
He
isolation
alleges
orders,
that Joe made
no
it clear
equipment
that his
access,
bodies and his
no
actions
suspension
were
of
not
attorney
his own. The
communication.
expectation was be spectrally available on demand, never say no or you're out. And this wasn't about pleasure, it was about enforcing loyalty through humiliation. Now listen, these actions are framed in the lawsuit as textbook SMEX, trafficking under coercion, especially the forced performance under threat, inability to leave due to fine and physical control, repetition over time. He claimed over 4,000 acts he was forced to perform and the occurrence across state lines. Intentional, you guys. He also claimed about lining him up. They said that when he started to complain, Fat Joe attempted a violence or a hint. Now let's talk about the retaliation attempt after he began asserting his rights publicly. Now there's supposedly an audio recording of the setup. The lawsuit includes a recorded call between Pistol Pete, Fat Joe's enforcer, and a man named Percy, a mutual contact of both Pete and Terrence. Here was the plan. Pete allegedly asked Percy to get in touch with TA and con Terrence and convince him of the meetup so the Enterprise could deal with him, interpreted as a violent ambush. These are the key quotes from the audio. Yo, he can't come around the hood. He needs to be dealt with. Accordingly, a hood is going to bring him to me like they always done. Ninja's going to bring it right to where you at. He implies that TA violated Joe by speaking out and retaliation was expected. And when Percy refused to help line TA up, Pete replied, don't ever tell me, bring a ninja to you. I'm not never doing that. Of course, lining up, I don't know. I guess that speak for putting a hit out on someone. So was there a real attempt? Well, from the lawsuit, there was no actual attack occurred. This recording clearly outlines an active conspiracy that set him up for a potential assault. Even worse, the threats were specific. They were targeted and they were made by someone. Pete, with a known history of that's his enforcer of carrying out Joe's violent orders. This lawsuit doesn't just talk about verbal abuse, but a predicate act under RICO and witness tamper statutes. You guys, what is going on over in Terror Squad? You guys, what is going on again? There was psychological coercion that they cited. Fat Joe's mantra is nobody leaves Terror Squad in one piece. Reference past violence like the slashing of Cuban Link as a warning, and TA was threatened with being stranded overseas, losing work, and being publicly shamed. Y'all, what the Enterprise culture code words and enforcers, the crew used coded terms like ketchup. That meant slashing Mandan. That meant maintain. What is that? That meant people cow pie. That meant slap. And Corbin meant put in a casket. Enforcers like Pistol Pete and Rich Player were used in these recorded conversations, and the culture functioned like a criminal hierarchy with orders, punishment, and obedience. You guys, what is going on again? This is the most shocking thing. TA claims he was forced in over 4,000 orchestrated and watched by Fat Joe. What? Okay, these are all alleged. We don't know if it happened. I assume if they're making a lawsuit, they have point of proof. But what is going on? Kanye allegedly likes the watch. Diddy likes the watch. And now they put in Fat Joe's name on the list. Refusal led to retaliation, like stranding him in Germany or Spain without tickets or lodging. And these acts were put on a humiliation ritual. Cultural, for culture, for control and subjugation. There was also exhibitionism and surveillance in one incident. Oh my God. Yeah, he used it as a tool of discipline and power. Also, he was scrubbed from linear notes. I guess that's music, credits, ASCAP credits and music, metadata, deprived of future licensing, sync and publishing revenue, and estimated over 600,000 in royalties, and fake contracts were backdated to make it seem like Joe was the sole creator again. After he spoke, Pistol Pete and Rich allegedly plotted an ambush to mutual aflame, named Percy refused to line him up, and recorded a phone call with the threats, and again, the quotes include, "He violated
Present,
Joe,
and
he
no
needs to
longer
be
has a
dealt with."
voice who
Now,
will
here's
pursue
the last
justice
thing
for her
that I do wanna
accusation.
say is very, very
As of the
Diddy
Aiken
I,
against
and need to
Diddy,
talk about
no
this.
expansion of the
lawsuit
investigation,
alleges Fat
no
Joe had
isolation
sexual
orders,
relations
no
with
equipment
3 underage
access,
women.
no
We're going
suspension
to
of
refer
attorney
to them as
communication.
minions. One minion was a 16-year-old in New York City, received cash and favors in exchange for sloppy minion. 2 15-year-old overseas, allegedly flown to Miami and get a BBL. A 15-year-old and minion 3 met at 15, allegedly housed by Joe, and mentioned in lyrics, "She's my mama." The song "She's My Mama" allegedly describes grooming of a 6-year-old, pressuring her to oral smacks and trafficking language, holding rugs, flying her around, and pimping her. TA claims the lyrics match the Minion 3's real experience, and say the girl actually confirms it. They said Fat Joe allegedly covered up statutory rape by producer Dre of Cool, and Dre reportedly confessed to having sex with a 15-year-old singer, K. Rose, and Joe allegedly used burner phones to silence family, and K's Roe career disappeared. Y'all, these are some serious allegations. We're going to go live later on today to read through the whole lawsuit, but at the end of the day, maybe that's why everybody's being so quiet and people are really, really nervous, because it wasn't just Diddy out acting a fool. Anyway, you guys, let me know what you think in the contact. Let me know what you think. We're going to go live later and talk about it, but yeah, this is a Tyrone Blackburn special. This lawsuit is over. This lawsuit is packed wall to wall with stuff. And all I got to say, why didn't Joe settle this? We saw what happened with Diddy when he let lawsuits just go and who got involved. Why is that? Why didn't he settle? Why in this climate would you want that out? I hope to God none of this is true, but they say they got receipts, they got audio recordings, and they even got some of those little girls actually on record admitting, yeah, it's true. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later.